Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this video is going to be all about brushes. So if that sounds like something that is going to be boring for you, this is probably not going to be the video for you. I have a lot of makeup brushes. I am a huge makeup fanatic, so I use brushes for all different types of things. And I do have brushes that I gravitate towards over and over and over again. These are just some of the brushes. And then this is more brushes. The point I'm trying to make is that I've tried a lot of different brushes and I know what works for me. I know the ones that I really like, and I want to share those with you guys today. If you're somebody that is just getting into makeup, or if you are already really into makeup and you're looking for new brushes, or you want to try some new stuff and you're not sure what to get, stick around. I'm going to share with you what some of my favorite brushes are. Before we even think about diving into brushes, let's just talk about the Beauty Blender. The Beauty Blender is, I'm sure everyone knows, it's a sponge. It's perfect for makeup application when you want something that might be a little bit more blended out. You want to make sure something is a little more seamless. This is a good way to sheer out your foundation. The Beauty Blender comes in handy because it's really easy to use, and it's just one of those staple items that I think most people should have in their makeup routine. Now, a lot of people just like to use a foundation brush, and that's okay too. However, I do recommend that you at least have one of these kind of on standby for like certain things. This is really good for blending out under eye concealer. This is really good for blending out contour, like cream contour. There's just so many things that you can use a Beauty Blender for. Not even just a Beauty Blender, but a sponge in general. However, my favorite is the actual Beauty Blender. So, if you haven't given the Beauty Blender a try yet, try it out. You just might fall in love with it. Try it when it's wet. I know some people don't realize you're supposed to wet this sponge down, but you are. You can also use it dry. It just depends on what your preference is. I use it both ways depending on what I'm trying to use it for. So, again, Beauty Blender. I just wanted to share that with you guys before we got into our brushes. Okay, so the first brush that I'm going to really share with you is a powder brush. This brush we got in our Boxy Luxe for the month of March, and I've been absolutely obsessed with it ever since I started using it. It's a little noisy. Let me show you what I mean. Like, I wouldn't say it's the most expensively made brush, or it's the most well-made for that matter, but it does a fantastic job at setting powder on your face. And I know these Moda brushes are relatively inexpensive. The next setting brush or powder brush that I like to use is the Sigma Large Powder Brush. This is their F30. This is just a really huge powder brush. When I first got this brush, it was kind of flat. Like, I don't even know if I can get it to go back that way, but it looked more like this. And it wasn't very fluffy. But from using it over and over and over again, it's kind of gotten there, and I really do like it for setting my face. So, again, a very good powder brush if that's what you're looking for. Okay, now when it comes to like bronzing my face, one of the brushes that I really like for that reason is the Ulta Beauty Bronzer Brush, which is kind of like a run-of-the-mill, just, nothing special, nothing fancy bronzer brush. But it's really, really good. It's got kind of a tapered head on it. It's not too densely packed, but it's just enough to where it's really going to deposit some pigment and allow you to buff that pigment out. If it wasn't tapered, it would be a little more, you'd have to just be a little bit more careful as far as placement. Because this is tapered, I can kind of get right up under my cheekbone with it with this tapered end, which I really like. And because it's not so densely packed, it's not going to really like throw that pigment on your cheeks or your forehead really, really, harshly. You're going to have to build it up a little bit with this one, but I like that. I like that about this. Okay, the next brush that I'm going to mention, believe it or not, I just tried out for the first time a few days ago, which I know it might sound crazy that I'm going to mention this brush, but I've used so many brushes. I know what I like. I know what works well for me. And this brush has my heart right now. I really, really, really like it for contouring. I like it for bronzing. I like it for blush. This is like a multi-purpose brush. This is the Firma 103 brush. I got this as an Ipsy like add-on for the month of April. and I've been kind of going to town with it ever since I used it. I really enjoy it. I think it does a fantastic job putting pigment on my face without making it look harsh. And it's so soft. It's just it's a great brush. Now, when we're talking about like blush brushes, my all-time favorite blush brush that I've been using for probably a little over a year now is the IT Cosmetics Love Beauty Fully Brush. It's a little banged up. I realize what I've been doing is beating these off of like palettes or, you know, other hard objects to tap powder off. I didn't even notice that all my brushes look like this until yesterday. How have I not noticed that I've been doing that for God knows how long? So they're not pretty. They're a little banged up, but they still serve their purpose, and it works really well. It's a beautiful blush brush. It is extremely soft. It's just an all-around good brush. It's a little expensive, so I would wait until you have some Ulta points to blow, or if you have like a 20% off coupon, or if they're having these on sale. I would wait until then to buy this. Okay, the next of my like face brushes, this is my baby. This is my absolute all-time favorite brush when it comes to cream or liquid foundations. This is the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. If you've seen any of my prior videos, and you've already heard me mention this over and over again, the reason why this is so good at putting cream or liquid foundation on is because it does have a very densely packed head on it. If you guys can really see that. But what that does is it allows the product to stay right kind of like at the tip, and you're able to really buff that product in all over your face. If the brush was a little more spread out and it wasn't as dense, it would get kind of lost in all the bristles, and you would have more of a streakier finish. So if you are in the market for a cream or liquid foundation brush, give this one a try. I think it's like $9 when it's not on sale. It is a wonderful brush. It's my favorite. Okay, so the next brush that I'm going to show you is my all-time favorite highlighter brush. For highlighter, it's one of those things where if you don't have the right brush, you can really mess up where the placement is on your face. At least in my experience, that's what I've had trouble with. So I started using this particular brush, and even when I try other things, I keep coming back to this brush. This is the Morphe M501. It is just really tapered up top, and it's fluffy, and it allows you to get right here on this cheekbone. It's just the perfect brush for highlighter. So until I find something that completely blows my mind, this is the brush that I use consistently to put highlighter on. Okay, another face brush that I really enjoy. This is the Real Techniques setting brush. You can set your under eye area with this brush. What I like to use it for is setting like around my nose and the lines right here on my face. You could probably use this for contouring if you really wanted to, if you wanted like a crisp contour line. But I really like this just for setting powder, and it does a good job with that. So Real Techniques is a really good brand if you're looking for affordable brushes, and their brushes are really good quality as well. Okay, the next kind of like face brush, this is the Morphe M173. This brush is good for buffing in concealer like underneath the eye. It's good for buffing in concealer on top of the lid before you set it if you're trying to do eyeshadow. It's just good for buffing in liquid or cream products in general. I don't know if I would necessarily try to buff in like your foundation all over your face with it. I think if you tried to do that, it would probably take too long. But as far as like buffing in concealer, this brush is perfect for that purpose. Okay, and this is another brush that is kind of just like that one. This is the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush. This is called a crease brush, okay? Like for eyeshadow, I'm assuming. But it doesn't really look like the kind of brush that I would use in my crease. It's really densely packed up top. It's like a domed shape. So I use this for putting concealer on my eyes and buffing that concealer out. That's literally all I use this for. And it serves its purpose. It's really good for that reason. Okay, now we're finally getting into our eye brushes. I'm going to try to speed through these a little bit so this video is not like 8 years long. But I do have quite a few eye brushes that I gravitate towards and that I use consistently. Okay, so the first brush I'm going to share with you is the Blending Crease Brush from Sonia Kashuk. This little ditty here is so soft. Like, oh gosh, I don't think I own many brushes that are as soft as this one when it comes to like eye brushes. It is really good for diffusing powder. So if you're trying to really blend the area above the crease, like where the brow bone is, you're trying to blend that area out, this is really fantastic for that. It's just really soft, and it's a wonderful eye brush. Another Sonia Kashuk brush that I really like is their tapered blending brush. This brush is good for putting right in that crease, for getting right up in here. If you want to lay down your transition shade, it's good for blending that crease area out. It's really soft. It's really tapered. It's just a really good brush. And it's pretty inexpensive to boot. I have quite a few like blending brushes that I like. The next one is the Morphe M505. This was like the first blending brush that I kind of fell in love with. I don't use this as much as I used to, but I still do use it quite a bit. This one is also good for buffing color like up into your crease area, or, you know, using it for a transition shade. It's just really fluffy. It's semi-tapered, a little bit more rounded up top than it is tapered, but it's still a good brush, and I do recommend this if you're looking for a good blending brush. Okay, this is the M573, and then this one is the M513. So if you look at them side by side, they kind of look like they're almost the same brush. Like, they're both rounded and tapered and fluffy. I want to say that this one, the M513 is just a little bit smaller, but they both do the same thing. They both blend color into the crease really well. They both help diffuse out that color. They're really good for using as a transition shade. These brushes I use all the time. The next brush that I like for that transition shade area or for my crease area is the Morphe M433 brush. This is a brush that I've heard James Charles talk about. I actually purchased this long before I even knew he liked this brush. This was a brush that I really like to use for buffing that color out. Like, say you have a really harsh, you know, line where your transition shade should be, or where your crease shade is, and you really want to try to buff that area out, make it a little more diffused, I would take a clean M433 brush and I would just buff that color out a little bit to try to make it look a little bit more, you know, wearable, subdued. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but this is a really good brush. Okay, this next brush is really good for the same purpose, but it's a little bit smaller. This is the Morphe M514. For this brush, what I like to do is when I dip it into the powder, I like to kind of use this to pack powder on the outside of my lid, and then I'll very lightly kind of drag that color over with this brush. So this one is good for hanging like right into that crease, keeping it right below the brow bone. This is really good for starting to diffuse that darker color onto your lid once you've already gotten your transition shade down. So that's what I use this one for. Okay, the next couple brushes are a little bit more like detail brushes. This one is the Morphe M562. It's kind of the same concept as the one I just told you, but it's got a very tiny little head on it. If you guys can see that. This one is good for blending out that crease. If you're the type of person that likes to like pack on color and then blend it all out, just depending on what your techniques are. This is really good for blending that color out of the crease, for going back and forth and just diffusing that color right in the crease. This is just a little bit more of a precise brush than the ones I've already shown you. Okay, the next two brushes I'm going to share with you, and we're almost done, so bear with me. The next two brushes I'm going to share with you are the Morphe M506 and the Morphe M507. Yes, I do own a lot of Morphe brushes. No, this is not a sponsored video. I legitimately just really like Morphe brushes, and I use them all the time. So this is the Morphe M506 and 507. As you can tell, there is very little difference between the two. One is just a tad bit fluffier than the other one. These I use for my detail work. So if I have, like, my transition shade is laid down and I've got my crease shade laid down, what I normally do is if I'm trying to, like, pack color on the outer portion of my lid, I'll use these brushes. And then I also use these to drag it through the crease. So this is just good for being a little bit more precise with your placement. These are also really good brushes if you're somebody that has a smaller lid space. I'm somebody with very hooded eyes because I am getting older. So I have found that using smaller brushes sometimes really helps to keep that color where I want it instead of being like crazy, all blown out all over my lid. So if you do have more mature eyes and you're having trouble with your placement of your shadows, try using some smaller brushes and you would be surprised the difference that it makes. Okay, the next brush I'm going to show you is one that I really like to use for getting right up underneath my brow bone, and I also like to use this for the inner corner highlight. This is the Morphe M213 brush, and as you can tell, it's just got a very tiny little head on it and it's flat. So it's perfect for carving out that brow bone, and it's perfect for putting color right in that inner corner. So that's what I use it for. And then this is another brush that's kind of like that one, but I like this one even more than I like that one. And the reason being is that this one, the head is even more flat. So it's even better for getting up underneath your eyebrows. This one is from Crown Brushes. It's their SS33 Mini Smudger Brush. I don't use it as a smudger brush. I just use it for carving out the brow bone, or highlighting my brow bone area, I should say, because I really don't carve it out. And also, again, for highlighting that inner corner area of my eye. Okay, two more brushes. The next brush is the Sigma Concealer Brush. This is the F75 brush. This one's really good if you're trying to, it's really nice outside today, so all I've heard all day is motorcycles, which is all good, but for when it comes to filming, it kind of stinks. Anyway, this is really good if you're trying to put concealer on your lids, especially if you're trying to do a cut crease. The only thing that's not good about that when it comes to this brush is that it's a little bit large for doing a cut crease. You would just have to be very careful. But it is a really good brush for putting concealer on your lids. So that is primarily what I use this one for. Okay guys, last but not least, this is the last brush I'm going to mention. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention one other brush. Let's go back to face brushes. I forgot to mention this e.l.f. brush. This does not have, yes it does. This is the e.l.f. 103 brush. Let me just show you this one. It looks really filthy. I apologize. But this brush is really good for setting powder. I dip it into my powder and I set my face with it. It's got an angled edge on it and it's really dense up here. So this is a perfect brush for setting your face. I love this. I love this brush. Can't believe I almost forgot about her. Okay, last but not least, this is the Sigma Concealer F70 brush. This one is just a little bit smaller than the one I just showed you a minute ago. So this was the F75 and this is the F70. So they're both concealer brushes. One's just bigger. So this one is better for cut crease. If you're trying to do that style of eye look, this one is perfect for carving out that cut crease. And that's what I would typically use this for. I really hope you guys got some sort of informational value out of this video. If nothing else, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I do pardon, myself for being in a pink bathrobe. I was getting chilly, and honestly, I forgot to take it off before I started filming, so there you have it. I do own a lot of nice brushes. I really like the brushes I just shared with you. I do use them consistently on an everyday basis, and I really hope that you guys, take something away from that. And if you're looking for good brushes, or you're, in the market to buy brushes, whatever, I hope this video was helpful to you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me some comments down below and let me know what else you'd like to see from me. If you like my content, please hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys know whenever I do upload a video. Thank you guys again so much for hanging out, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye.